Play. All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the CallTools Podcast. I want to remind everyone to hit subscribe and to like and comment on this video if you're getting extreme value out of what you see and hear here, which I'm sure you will. And it's my absolute honor and pleasure to introduce Justin Wenzel. We've been highly anticipating this meeting today. Justin, it's a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, Chaz, thanks. I'm so glad we were able to put this together, man.
Oh yeah, I've been fired up. I've been following along with a lot of your stuff for a long time, and you bring the energy, you bring such good value to your audience and your community, and I'm blessed to have been a part of it after being introduced to you and what you've been up to. So,
That's awesome.
yeah, starstruck having you on here today. Thank you for joining.
Oh God, I don't know about all that, man.
Awesome. Well, today we wanted to dive into a really great topic. We were going to talk about outreach and mental fortitude, and how action unlocks growth. And, really what we wanted to focus on, obviously I'm in the call center space. We were going to apply a little bit in that direction, but I think it's universal what some of the things we're going to talk about. And, I wanted to start with, when you have a business and you're doing outreach, I see so many times that people are afraid and they get in their own way. They don't want to make that phone call or do that outreach step that's going to get them to the next level. So I find that people get in their own head, they get afraid to take that next step. And I think that's something that maybe you see, with your clients, with your community. And I want to see what you thought about that.
Yeah, so I think it goes back to like care, right? Like you're starting your own business. Do you care about your business? Because if you did, then you would be shameless. The outreach wouldn't even be negotiable. You would know that I have something great that I want to present to somebody in hopes that they pay me to give them an excellent experience. That should be your mindset. And when it comes to outreach and getting in front of people, you shouldn't have anything holding you back. That should be your main thing. I've built something that I want to present to the world. So regardless, and we have a number of ways of getting traffic directed towards us, right? We have cold outreach, we have warm outreach. So people you don't know, people you know, right? Then you have content, which we can probably get into this in a little bit, but content doesn't necessarily, it doesn't work the way that it once did. It still is very valuable, probably the most valuable, but it doesn't work quite like it did. And then you have paid traffic, okay?
Sure.
Otherwise, those are your options. So if you're not willing to invest a lot of money into paid traffic, right? You haven't really gotten the skills and built the audience for your content, then you're really left with people you know and people you don't know.
Right.
And how many people do you know? So that's going to be your hottest section right there. That's going to be your supporters. That's going to be your main system, right? But how many people do you know? Okay. I happen to be becoming the mayor of Orange County now, right, Sean? No. But I don't, so I know everybody, but most people don't. Most people haven't done that. And I would tell you this, that if there was a person that was reserved to go into outbound, then I'm guessing that their social network is not so big either, right?
Sure.
So then at that point, it's pure shamelessness. You have to be shameless. You have to go get it. Otherwise, you don't really want to have a business.
I love that. And the way you distilled it is so perfect. People you know, people you don't know, and you do have to be shameless. I think that is the key nail that you're hammering in right now. You're sitting back, you're trying to scale a business. Maybe you're just getting started. Maybe you're already, 7-8 figures and you're trying to get to that next level and push, sitting back and being afraid to take that next step and, to do the things that make you uncomfortable. I find that's really what it comes down to is people are uncomfortable and they like the feeling of, I'm in control. And, sometimes it's the fear of rejection and failure that sets them back. And they don't want to make that outbound phone call because they know that in their mind, there's a chance that person's going to say, screw you, I don't want to hear from you, or your product sucks, so.
Yeah, well, yeah, if you can't take rejection, then you shouldn't be in business.
Yeah.
But earlier you had said 7 and 8 figure. At that point, you probably should have some people that are willing to be shameless for you.
Yeah, well, I would hope so, right? But it's surprising what you find out there. You got some people that are set in their ways, they've got their channels, and I've seen it with some larger companies too, where they just don't take that step, or it's surprising that they're at that point, seeing how, non-aggressive they are at certain levels. So
100%. The other thing too is what a lot of people take for granted is the information that they've collected over the years. If they had a good stream, a decent website, and a good nurturing process, meaning email sequences, obviously text
sure,
message campaigns and things like that, and they were keeping people involved in their ecosystem, if they were getting creative to make and posting a lot of content and putting a lot of stuff out there to where people are seeing them frequently, right?
sure,
No, that
sure.
that's what it's all about is frequency. Frequency is what you frequently see or hear from or whatever.
Cool.
So if they're not getting that, if you're not keeping the existing clientele or the existing information that you've collected over the years inside of your ecosystem, then you're screwing up. I don't know if we can swear on this, so I'm trying to be
No,
good.
you're good. Please be as raw as
Okay.
you like. We can be
Yeah.
raw here. So
Trust me, you don't want me to open up. But yeah, it's just it's one of those things where having those correct systems in play are really important. But let's talk just calls, because that's what you do is
sure.
you do in the call center space.
Yeah.
I think what a lot of people get wrong is when they do have that ecosystem set up and they hire a call center and they go volume in calls, right? And
Sure.
it was funny. I had a guest named Josh Troy, who's a great friend of mine. He's from here in Orange County. He owns a company called Wires from Strangers. They're a very, very high ticket closing and call center as well, and sales team. He installs sales teams into coaching
Oh,
businesses like
beautiful.
mine. No, I have a fantastic sales team, so I don't hire him, but we're just
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah.
Um, but he was talking about it this way. He said that you'll have a call center that will go and spray out 1,000 calls, right?
Sure.
And what that really means over the course of that time is that an individual is getting called one time. So having a call center saying that I can send out 1,000 calls, that really doesn't tell you dick,
Right. Right. Exactly.
right? So again, we're talking frequency. And
That's right.
that's what's really important in terms of outreach and stuff like and just everything, outbound anything, whether it is paid traffic, whether it is
Sure.
traffic, whatever it is, it has to be frequency. I learned in grad school, and this is something you didn't have to go to college to learn, but
Sure.
in terms of marketing and advertising, you have range and frequency. How many people can you talk to, and how many times can you talk to those people, right? And if you're not Coca-Cola, Starbucks, Apple, whatever, you can't afford range. You just don't get it. That's not an option for you. So what are
Right.
you left with frequency? That's what you need to focus on.
That's incredible. Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head too. In the frequency, this is I've been involved in some of these studies too, and I try and keep my acumen up with the marketing and best practices. What I've seen, it used to be you had to be seen by somebody 8 times. That could be a phone call, a text message, that could be an email that they saw, a billboard they drove by. It used to be 8 times they would need to see you to subconsciously link when they're ready to solve that problem. You're the first person they think about. That
Yep.
number has since, I guess, with attention spans and society, I think it's up to like 16 or 20 times they need to see you to create that mental linkage. And again, I'm sure it's not an exact science, but that's
I would tell you that it's less about it is that frequency is true, but I would say it's
sure.
actually more about how much time their eyes are invested on you.
That's true too. Yeah,
Because we live in such a visual world it is a matter of like Alex Hormozy actually talks about that. He says that the average person wants to watch you for 7 to 11 hours.
wow.
Hours
Wow.
before they made the decision whether they want to work with you.
That's crazy. Yeah,
Which
yeah.
means which means what we're talking about in terms of the content side of things and the rest of it is so important. Why are your emails directly addressed to those people? Why are your emails not actually selling them anything, but providing them value and maybe some sort of personal connection throughout, right?
Sure.
Like it's a matter of keeping the attention on your company.
Yeah, and I think too what you're saying with the frequency and staying in front of people, as much as you can automate, and it sounds like you've mastered this, is the automation, the drip sequencing, and staying in front of people is so important. And I think that's where people that are in the call center or have SDRs, sales reps, people doing outreach, if they allow their agent or their sales rep, and I'll talk to anybody directly, in the world, if you're leaving it up to them to remember to make that call back, to remember to follow up with their pipeline. Let's say you have really high ticket leads coming in and you want them called immediately when they first come in within seconds. You want them called again 20 minutes later if they didn't answer, an hour later. That first day, maybe you're calling them 5 or 6 times. If you're leaving that up to a manual sales rep, I'll bet you even the best one in the world will have some gap or somewhere where they're missing, right? So if you can automate that and make sure that those are happening as you want them to happen, that's where the change starts to happen.
So that was a lot right there. So
I know.
just to kind of break it up real quick, because we could talk about this topic for hours.
Sure.
You have when first of all, let's talk about automation in terms of high ticket, because
Sure.
A normal ticket that we're going to recommend is 5,000 and above. Okay, and that's considered high ticket, right? Our average ticket is 15 to 20,000. So
there you go.
In terms of high ticket, okay, first and foremost, we put a heavy emphasis on very dialed in avatar. Okay, so let me stop there real quick and then address the automation side of things.
Sure.
As important as automation is, discernment is far more important.
Sure.
And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. When you're dealing with high ticket clientele and you are directing everything towards one single, very structured avatar, right? Like very specific, very dialed in. Okay. You need to be able to have the discernment inside of your funnel as to what gets automated and what you pull an audible with. Meaning that, like, if I have somebody that pulls through my funnel, I have a team inside that goes and audits their profile. Is that dude jacked, bald, bearded, tatted? Right? Is that dude like, is that dude talking about things like bettering people's lives and stuff like that? In which case, we're going to peel automation. We're going to peel automation because to me, it's worth my time to have my team go and say, hey, Jay, you need to check this guy out.
Sure.
And in which case, I'm completely abandoning my automation, and they're going to get a video note from me.
That's great.
Personalized with me saying your name, right? So what's more important than automation? And automation is very valuable, especially when you're running large campaigns. But what's more important is discernment. And then from there, what you're saying is correct, right? Like the frequency or the amount of follow-up and touch points that you have is really important. However, we're finding out now that the way people look at things is if everything's important, then nothing's important. So and so we want to have like quality touch points well over just like blowing somebody up, especially too, understanding that if some people's avatars may require a little more attention than others. So to have a blanket statement of like, this is how we're going to install our process into your sales line and your pipeline. Well, that's not necessarily fair to say.
Sure. And I think you have to pivot too. What you're saying is incredible because you do have to have, you can't treat everything the same. You have to have the ability to pivot the conversation. Again, more data points is incredible. Being able to do your research, have that data in front of you during that conversation. So it's not robotic and you're, oh, hi, yes, I'm calling to see if you're interested in this, that, and the other thing, So I think curating that and having the proper, research behind what you're doing and having a meaningful conversation, people feel that. People want to feel the emotion and the connection, and they don't just want to feel like it's another, sales or marketing pitch that they're being thrown at.
Well, that's true too. Yeah, and in a world where everything's automated, years ago, I was in the auto industry, and
there you go.
And really, really involved like my entire life in the auto industry, and got to do a lot of cool things in it. But there was a time where a company was called Carvana was making waves. And a lot of people in the auto industry that worked for single point dealerships, family businesses, and things like that were like, wow, this Carvana thing's really, blowing up. And I remember a guy, I think his name's Ali Rita, and he's one of the number one car salesmen in the world, if not number one. And he said, yeah, I understand that, but a handshake is so much warmer than a click.
Sure.
And when he said that, I remember, like, dude, I heard that like over 10 years ago. And it always stuck with me, where it was like, how can I because understanding that when you're dealing with thousands and thousands of eyeballs, how can I be able to somehow, some way provide a very warm client acquisition experience that doesn't take up all my time, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is able to provide solid strategic leads. Um, and I think we've done pretty well.
That's
Obviously,
and yeah.
perfect.
And that video thing you shared is powerful, you know. That's something I've actually been looking at with the Call Tools team to roll out, and I don't know why we haven't done it because it's been on my mind for years. But I've actually made the decision when I was analyzing softwares in a previous life um, to move forward with the company because I had never seen it. This is probably 6, 7 years ago. The video got sent to me by email. I almost clicked over it, right? Because it almost looks fake. Like, hey, I sent you this video. And it was a real video filmed by the woman who was the sales representative for the company. Hey, Chaz, listen, I wanted to reach out. I wanted to share with you. I took a look at your profile. I took a look at your company. Here's why we're unique and here's what we're doing in the space. And that was just so amazing. I like watched that. I'm like, wow. I called her immediately. Yeah, listen, thank you for sending that over. I thought it was, I almost clicked out like every other email and deleted it.
Yeah.
And that's
So I'll
the
tell you one even
conversation,
further.
you know?
One thing that we've even done further than that, and the direction that we're starting to go,
Sure.
is off of our ad responses and our codes. We are. I literally did a video where I was like walking through the airport, and I left it either gender specific. What's up, bro? Thanks so much for reaching out, or what's up,
Right.
homegirl? Right? Because that's how
I like
and it's
that.
like it's really natural and whatever. And so now we're going as far as our setting team knows, like to discern whether, and again, discernment, that's the main thing.
Sure.
They know how to discern, right? Male, female, which video goes to which. Furthermore, once we get it dialed in enough, we'll be able to literally automate the gender, which is fucking
That's
wild and a
cool.
little
That's
risky in
great.
2025 too. But
Yeah, well, yeah, it might have some miscommunication there.
yeah, I can't. I don't want to work with them anyway.
Oh man.
I mean, I don't want to work with like people that are offended easily anyway. So, um, but yeah, that's it's funny because we're taking it really far with that. To be able to once again at least have a prompt warm video greeting.
Awesome. Yeah, I lost my video for a second, so I'll turn it back to you. With this one, you know, so the video is powerful. I've seen some software out there now too, and to me, it's a little bit disingenuous, but it'll actually allow you to, you know, when you go say hi, it'll like make your mouth look like the screen blipped for a second, and then your voice will say, "Hey, John, you know, I was shooting you a quick video, and I wanted to see what you're
Yeah,
up to." You know, but to me, some of that, I think people see through some of that. You know, it's not
it's too
as
much.
legitimate. Yeah.
Yeah, it's too much.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm just trying to get this camera back up here. But no, this has been incredible. So I think you're touching on some really valuable stuff here for the community. Um, you know, I think I want to just circle back full circle to the beginning, right? And I think all this stuff's incredible. But, you know, when you look at somebody who's stuck, that doesn't want to take that next step, that's afraid to, you know, get into outreach and get uncomfortable, how do how do you kind of coach them forward and get them over that hurdle?
So we're actually running a program right now called the 44 Core, and I don't know if you're familiar. But do you remember back in the, it wasn't even back in the day, it was only a few years ago, First Form did something called 75 Hard?
Yes, I do remember
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so we're actually running the 44 Core Challenge, which is literally like 75 hard for your business. And it's
That's
all things,
incredible.
yeah, it's blown up. And it's all things that are, what you should be doing throughout the day in terms of content, outreach, all of those things. And then if you obviously,
Beautiful.
if you miss one day, then then you start over. While doing that, we're also running free webinars for those people that come in.
Awesome.
And then in addition to that, I gave away the entire launch kit and everything, the stuff that all my competitors
Look at
charge 10.
that. I'm going to be completely genuine. I did not know you had that program. And look how organic. The
So,
guy, Justin Wenzel, if you're looking for some support here to get to the next level, he's got the whole roadmap ready to go here.
yeah, that's good.
That's awesome. Well,
I
listen.
appreciate you having me on.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. Yeah, and I apologize to everyone for the technical difficulty. This is supposed to be my background, and now, you know, the camera blows out. But anyway, Justin, it's an absolute.
We got to get you a good background.
Oh man, I gotta redo it. I actually have a nice office in here too. but I do like having the Call Tools branding. So,
There you go.
Justin, it's a pleasure. If people want to get in touch with you, they want to learn more about what you're up to, what's the best way?
Just at Justin Wenzel on Instagram is fine.
Awesome. Yeah, you got some killer content up there. I'm watching that. And then, you said you're training a lot. I mean, you're training what, 3-4 times a day?
No, actually, I'm not training at all today. I'm actually going to chiropractic. And yeah. So it's been just this whole year since the first, I've been on this like maximum biohacking kick and becoming the most lean version of myself. So normally I'm a lot bigger. Normally I'm around 280 pounds. So I'm down to 250 pounds now, very lean. And focused in on like the right peptides. I'm running like massive doses of NAD, things like that, just trying to kind of reverse the old age because I started feeling it for a little bit.
Oh man. Well, I met an old man back in the day in the gym. He was, I think, pushing 70. He was always in there working out, and it always stuck with me. He came up to me, he's like, I don't know how we even got to talking. He goes, keeping fit and keeping your body fit. He's like, it doesn't stop the aging process, but I'll tell you, it really helps. I'm like, all right.
No, it sure does. So yeah, it's good. But
That's
yeah,
awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. Like I said, the Call Tools community, myself, we've been very excited for this event and to connect with you. And for anyone watching, if you want to learn more about Call Tools, it's been behind me the whole time. It's calltools.com, as well as my direct cell phone. People think I'm crazy for doing this, but that's my direct line. You can text me or call me there, and my email. We'd love to meet with you and show you how our software can help you with your outreach and to exponentially get some more results and connection rate for your business. So thank you guys so much.